The Presidential Task Team on the Restoration of Law and Order in Apapa has a deadline of Saturday, June 8th, to complete the implementation of the Presidential Directive on ridding the port town of Apapa of Gridlock. For some days now, the Presidential Task Team has been decongesting the port roads. In the next report, our correspondent, Olu Phillips, brings us details.
To be or not, perhaps greeted the latest presidential directive on the restoration of law and order in Apapa. We are all too familiar with the scenarios that has now been christened the Apapa Gridlock. Two weeks ago, a directive went into enforcement, and as always, we also followed independently. In the first few days of the tax team's operation, they recorded some success, howbeit on one axis of Apapa, and the reasons we sought to know, and here's what we found. There's also been a blame game over who is responsible for the congestion aside the damaged roads. Here we get some clarifications.
Until you solve the issue of routes and truck parks, the problems will persist. Okay? Now, the issue is a lot of those truckers want to use the ports as parking facilities, and we will not allow it. We have a situation where customs processes are completely manual. For all containers, they have to open manually. No scanner is working at the port. So every inspection is manual. And we're talking about a customs service that works for maybe 8 hours a day. So tell me, how many cargo can they examine manually in a day?
This is the bridge linking you from Eric Moore, which is just in front of me, all the way up to Ijora Bridge, and you turn right, which is, that's the National Theatre, turn right, and that's Apapa. But again, enough said about what the traffic and the gridlock has done. Part of the damages it has done to our society and to this area is the damage to infrastructure. For instance, look at this. When you look at this sign, it tells you that something was actually buried here. And I can tell you that which was buried here is an armored cable that supplied electricity to these streetlights. What do we have? It's been cut off and it's been stolen. There's no cable here. They cut it off. See, it's empty. See, cut it off. Today, a few more feathers have been added to previous achievements by the tax team around the notorious axis of Mile 2.
For some time, you have seen the 10-lane road turn to double lane. Some people have passed trucks, and everywhere you see trucks facing themselves to the extent that no truck can move from Mile 2 to Coconut and Coconut to Tinkapo. So we've been able to streamline them from Coconut to the port. We are now streamlining from Coconut down to Mile 2, and now streamlining from Mile 2 down to Sele. So you will see this side, we are keeping them to one lane now. We are doing the same thing as we move ahead. So once they get into one single file, it will allow so many things to happen. A contractor is on this road, working to fix both sides of the road. The contractor doesn't even have access to do palliatives. So we'll be able to gain space for the contractor to do the palliative.
If the clear sites, as it appears, remains and or improved on, that's a plus. But maintaining it will most definitely require a staying power or a sustained effort. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
what we're looking at is a very disturbing footage of officials of the Nigerian prisons, wardens, beating some aggrieved complainants at a hospital in Gombe State. A young man, Muhammad Nuhu, was said to have been complaining and ranting over the alleged murder of his younger brother, Nura Nuhu, who had been in prison custody for about 3 years over allegation of theft. All of a sudden, the men of the prison service stormed the hospital, and this drama, which we're looking at, ensued. Aishatu Haruna, his elder sister, narrates her ordeal and is demanding for justice. Really disturbing. It's time for business news now. Here's Anne Mamudu.
Thank you, Marachi. Let's begin business news tonight with the Department of Petroleum Resources having revoked the oil licenses of 5 companies. The affected oil firms include Pan Ocean Oil Corporation, OML 98, Allied Energy Resources Nigeria, OML 120 and 121, Express Petroleum and Gas Company, OML 108, Cavendish Petroleum Nigeria, OML 110, and Summit Oil International, OPL 206. According to the DPR, the revocation is based on the presidential directive aimed at recovering legacy debts owed by the companies after they failed to make statutory remittances running into billions of dollars to the federal government. The former Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibeka Chikwu, had in February last year announced plans to recover the oil licenses of the companies indebted to the government. And talking about oil, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries says that all members of the alliance remains resolute in keeping oil markets balanced, and they will continue to deliver on the output cut deal. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Barkindo, who made this remark at the conference in New York, says the organization will take the current bearish economy into account at their upcoming meeting. The 15-member cartel and its allies, including Russia, will gather in Vienna on June the 25th and the 26th to decide whether to prolong supply curbs into the second half of the year. Oil prices have slipped below $60 a barrel in London for the first time since January this week, and concerns are still escalating about trade wars affecting the global economy. EcoBank Transnational Incorporated, listed in Abidjan, Accra, and Ghana, and Lagos, says that its latest $500 million Eurobond was overbought at 4.6 times the offer size, with an improved yield of 8.26% to investors. The issue price of the Eurobond was 104.9% of the principal amount, reflecting a yield of 8.25%, and that's a solid improvement from the yield of 9.7% for the initial issue. In a statement released today, the Pan-African lender says the bond, maturing in April 2024, will be used for general corporate purposes, and it will further strengthen the liquidity of the bank. ETI says the bonds will be consolidated and will form a single series with the $450 million 9.5% yield, which was already floated in April this year, and it's due for repayment in April 2024. One of Nigeria's oldest financial institution, Union Bank PLC, is planning a reduction in its share premium account of 54.45 billion naira to care of accumulated payment losses or permanent losses from legacy transactions. The bank issued a statement today saying that shareholders will be requested on June the 11th to approve plans to carry out the capital reduction and share capital reorganization. Union Bank says that the proposed action will not affect its authorized or issued share capital or its regulatory capital, but it will reduce the balance in credits in the share premium account, currently standing at 187.09 billion naira. The exercise is expected to pave way for Union Bank's investors to receive dividends out of the bank's future profit. The month of June is getting off on a negative start, very sad for the domestic stock market, as investors are still resuming from the 2-day Muslim holiday break with intense sell pressure. Let's get more from Edibion Kiwan.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Investors returned to the stock market today with bearish sentiment after a two-day Muslim holiday. Key sellers were recorded in bellwether equities, dragging the general index by 1.30% and total market value down nearly 179 billion naira to 13.4 trillion naira. Now, looking at the sectoral table, we see all the sectors in negative territory, with industrial goods and insurance shedding 2.80% and 2.05% each. However, oil and gas counter gained 2.30%, but the banking index was down despite positive news of $500 million ETR Eurobond and Union Bank announcing a 54 billion naira share premium realignment. Now, shares of troubled energy trader Oando turned green by 5.26% today as investors ignored the company's face-off with the Securities and Exchange Commission. In all, about 217 million shares worth almost 6 billion naira were exchanged in 3,686 deals. Shares of GT Bank, Zenith and UBA were the most traded. And that's a summary of Thursday's trading at the Nigerian stock market. I'm Edidiong Iwang.
Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwaodo. The rest of the news at 10 continues with Amarachi.
Governors of the People's Democratic Party are currently meeting in the nation's capital, Abuja. 12 of the 16 governors of the opposition party are attending the meeting. The immediate past Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Senator Bukola Saraki and Yakubu Dogara, are also in attendance. Although there is no clear information on the agenda of the meeting, the presence of former Speaker Dogara and former Senate President Bukola Saraki, as well as the PDP National Chairman, may not be unconnected to the upcoming inauguration of the 9th Assembly.